Welcome back to another episode of
Suplex Society. With your host, CE, and your co-host, Luis.
Chest goes off.
Yeah.
If you can hear him.
Things were cute.
So, Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit, let's get right into it. Talk to me. What do you want to talk
know
about
him?
You know what?
Besides...
Give me a mic. I want to talk about it. Give me a microphone.
Just come over here. You'll be picked up from one of these two mics.
I want my own microphone.
You don't get your own mic. You want to be in the video, you come over here and sit right here between the both of us.
Besides the obvious.
Besides
what
the
do you
obvious,
know about him?
Look, I remember, I think that's when I started actually watching wrestling.
Which was when?
Early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Okay. So that's when he first came to WWE.
All I remember is that he wasn't huge in the WWE at the moment, but he was built to be in like an upper mid card.
Yeah.
At the time that I started watching, and I remember the episode. I remember the episode where I was still a kid.
Yeah,
I was still a kid. But I remember the episode where Vince McMahon got into his limo and the thing blew up, and everybody said,
Wait, no, hold on. The limousine blow up was in 2007.
Okay, so that's mid 2000s.
I thought you were saying mid 2000.
Mid 2000s. 2000s. With an S of them. This is what I remember about him. I'm sure I remember other things about other wrestlers, but this is what I remember about him. I remember that he had something to do with that.
Chris Benoit?
Not with that happening.
Oh, you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, Vince McMahon get into his limo. If I'm not interrupted again, he blows up. He is dead. Next Raw, guess who comes out? First person to speak on the mic. Vince McMahon somehow comes back from the dead,
and Chris Benoit's dead.
And now Chris Benoit's dead.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. Like, if you ask me what's my memory about Chris Benoit, that's like my main memory about Chris Benoit. I remember that. I don't remember before that.
Okay.
I'm sure I saw some of his matches. I do remember that he was
Benoit
very good technically.
Yes.
But other than that, when you ask me what do I remember from those times, that's what I remember.
Okay, so after I initially texted you, what did you learn about him? Besides the fact that he killed his wife?
Apparently he was in a match in a WrestleMania main event with Triple H and HBK. And I didn't even know that had ever happened.
Okay. That's where we're going to go in.
Okay, so do you want me to keep going?
No.
Okay.
So Chris Benoit, erased from WWE history, erased from wrestling, almost ruined wrestling.
Why do you say he almost ruined wrestling?
When the incident occurred.
The incident.
Where he murdered his wife and his son.
He unalived.
And then he killed himself. It was found out that he was getting steroids from, like, I guess, the dark web.
Mm.
And a lot of the wrestlers some wrestlers, not all, not a lot, but like a few of the ones that, were being tied to this guy. And it about ruined, like, during the 2007 to like 2009 was like a very
controversial time for the WWE.
Yeah, because
was that when the lawsuit was going through, or I thought that was early in the 2000s,
early 90s,
or early
1993, 93, 94. Okay, because Hulk Hogan
was part of that.
Testified against Vince McMahon in front of the federal government, and McMahon was acquitted. So Benoit wrestled. He was trained in the Heart Dungeon.
I didn't know he was from Canada.
Yeah.
I learned that during my homework that I did.
You gonna be minus?
Wait, we're not done with the whole thing. Let me at least take the whole test.
So did you watch the WrestleMania 20 match?
I did watch WrestleMania.
The whole match.
The whole matches.
What did you think about it? Like, as someone that doesn't remember it, and
well, one, I never watched it back then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I've never seen it. somebody coming out of it. The first video you sent me was really good because it helped me. We talked about it in the last episode. To me, part of the wrestling match, for it to be good, it has to be with the storyline. Not only the storyline you do within the actual match, but the not only the storytelling you do within the actual match, but the storytelling you do outside of the match. And I think the way they built it up seemed to me, and this is going to be controversial, in a way, kind of like WrestleMania 40-esque, where things weren't planned, things were changed, and things ended up happening in a perfect combination of failure and events.
Yeah.
So, what did I think of the match? I think I thought it was a really, really good match. I wouldn't say it was peak Triple H or peak HBK.
That was Triple H in his prime.
Peak? Okay.
That was Shawn Michaels kind of towards
That was
not
towards the end, right?
prime, but his.
It was during, like, he started the downhill, right?
Yeah. Because he still had good matches against Undertaker after that match.
Yes. I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was very well told within the ring, very well developed outside of the ring. Maybe it's because I don't see the necessity for it anymore because of what's happening in wrestling now.
As in what?
I don't see the need for all the blood anymore. Is it cool? Absolutely. Did I say, oh, I don't want to see it?
Well,
never did I say that.
Blood was banned for a while under McMahon.
Yeah.
Like, even chair shots. That brings me to the Benoit situation.
CTE?
I don't know if I believe in all that. Like, I believe in CTE.
Oh, okay.
But I don't shut the fuck up. I don't believe it in, like,
Hey,
there's not an excuse for.
I agree.
Like, I have PTSD, and if I went and killed somebody, I'm not going to use my PTSD as.
Yes, just like I wouldn't excuse Aaron Hernandez of doing anything.
Exactly.
I completely agree with you.
So, shut the fuck up. You're distracting me.
I'm trying to be professional here, Cheska.
So, like, I love the wrestling style and his in-ring career. I definitely condemn what he did.
Yes, and so this whole episode is not to praise him as a person, but to, I wouldn't say memorialize, but to recognize his in-ring performances.
There we go.
Yes.
How was she as a wife?
His wife kind of died.
I know, but how was she? Did she deserve?
We're not.
If you're gonna be on the podcast, come over here and get in between our two hot bodies and be on the podcast.
So it's crazy. Okay, Benoit started camp Canadian Stampede Wrestling in Canada, obviously, and then jumped over to Japan, became I just read it, Wild Pegasus.
What? Oh, okay. El Tigre was Jericho.
He was white, or gosh, I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. But
you said Chris Jericho's the greatest of all time, and you don't know his.
I think it is El Tigre. We can look it up, but
anyways, so he goes to Japan, then he finds himself in WCW, and I mean, he had some really good matches with Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. That's kind of because WCW kind of were the founders of the cruiserweight division.
Right. You know what I didn't notice?
Lionheart,
yes. I did not notice that CM Punk was in WWE as early as
2000.
Yeah, I did not notice that. I noticed it because
he had a match on Velocity.
Okay.
It was like a
Velocity, like one of the developments. Yeah.
Where you're not on the main show, but you're not not off TV,
right.
you know. So Velocity and Sunday Night Heat were kind of like NXT, where you go to get more exposure to in-ring, antics and stuff. So
Chris Benoit.
Yeah. comes over to WCW. He meets Nancy, his wife.
Yes.
Nancy was Woman. Her name was Woman. She
Right.
was a manager for Kevin Sullivan.
Okay.
Kevin Sullivan was the ex-husband of Nancy. Like, they did a whole storyline. And then after that storyline,
Mhm.
it was, hey, I'm leaving Kevin and I'm getting with Chris Benoit. Kind of like they storylined, like,
But
Sullivan
they were
was...
already apart from each other.
No.
Chris Sullivan and Kevin Sullivan.
No.
So this sounds very familiar to
They were still married together, and then they did the storyline where she went against him, and Chris came into the storyline, and he kind of storylined his own divorce.
This sounds like Hardy and Lita and Edge.
Yes.
That sounds exactly like what it is.
So initially, there was speculation that Kevin had something to do with it because of his dark culture, and
There was something that I did see about that there was like a
but
conspiracy theory, right?
I don't believe in all that bullshit. But anyways, some of his best matches, I mean, he had good matches against The Rock.
I didn't even know he wrestled The Rock.
I sent you a bunch.
I didn't see that one.
He wrestled Stone Cold. Him and Jericho were in a triple threat match with Stone Cold.
Yeah.
A tag team match. There is a tag team match that I need you to watch.
Okay, did you send it?
No.
Okay.
Actually, it might be on there. Okay. Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit versus Stone Cold and Triple H. It's the night that Triple H tore his muscle. He finished the match. And Jericho put him in the walls of Jericho on the announce table after he tore his quad.
Ah.
But a lot of the good matches that had like that should be noticed today can't be because of him. That's why you don't know The Rock faced Chris Benoit. Brock Lesnar faced Chris Benoit.
All this, it almost feels like there's the phenomenon that you remember one thing as one thing, and then it ends up being something else.
WWE also...
I just said something, acknowledge it.
What'd you say?
There's a phenomenon, right?
Y'all are being boring, by the way. I have a microphone now.
I'm not going to dub into it. You have to get in between us if you want to be...
That's why I clap. It'll be easy.
No.
Look, y'all are being boring, okay? Speed this up and get to where he chops off her head. What do you do?
But that's not the point of this podcast,
Oh,
Jessica.
what is it?
The point of this podcast is to recognize his in-ring performances, not to highlight some of the things that he did in his at the end of his life, literally.
Oh man, what's the point of this?
I just told you what the point of this is.
By the way,
this is a wrestling podcast, okay, Chesco?
This is Chesco, and hey, add a picture of me.
You can.
Add a picture of me.
Just do it.
Like, come on, we want to see the blood. Like, who he killed first? Did he?
I don't want to get into that.
Exactly. We don't want to get into this.
Did he kill Owen Hart?
No. Shit.
You don't know. He might have like cut the wire.
Benoit was still in WCW when that happened. Where were we before we got rudely interrupted?
Rudely interrupted, yes.
Where were we?
Oh,
you said the phenomenon.
So I forgot what it's called. Where you remember one thing to be as one thing, but then it ends up not being like that.
Yeah.
Like the Berenstein Bears is one of those. Like,
yeah.
What is that called?
I don't know.
I forgot. So this almost feels like that. Like so many things happen, but they never really happened because they were erased from the history books, right?
They did that with Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy.
Exactly like that. So it's so weird to see some of the things you sent me today because it's like this never happened. But then I'm looking at it, and
you can still find it, like his Royal Rumble win in 2004. Mm-hmm. It's still there, but they like vacated it. the world title went vacated.
Yeah.
He's been blackballed. They're even blackballing his son.
Because I think it has everything to do with the relations to.
That doesn't matter.
It shouldn't. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But
he kept he wanted WWE won't even contact him, or nobody will talk to him.
Which sucks on his behalf because he wanted to carry a legacy of positivity instead of negativity.
Thinks his dad as a wrestler should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, but not as a person.
Well, you can't do that, man. They're one.
Exactly.
So
it's because it's his dad,
I get it.
That's not the dad that he. Go watch Dark Side of the Ring.
I've seen it.
There's you hear some pretty crazy stories, but anyway, yeah, they're blackballing his son who wants to wrestle, and AEW is kind of picking up on that.
I think they should.
Yeah,
I think they should.
He shouldn't be faulted for something.
Not only that, but hey,
to do with it.
Let him put on his boots. Let him tie his own straps, and let him get in the ring and say, "Hey, I can really do this, or I can't really do this." Exactly. And he'll carry his own legacy. It won't be the legacy of his father. It won't be the legacy of his family.
It'll be his own
legacy.
That's like, do you know Brian Pillman? Have you ever heard of?
Sounds familiar.
You ever heard of Flying Brian? He's blonde.
Let me look it up right now because the name sounds really familiar.
He died in 90, 96, 97.
Yes.
His son is on
Chris Benoit
NXT. His son is on NXT, and they wouldn't let him use his Brian Pillman name or something like that.
Yeah, but at least they're letting him on the show.
Yeah. I mean, why not do that for Benoit?
Because I think Chris Benoit was a little bigger star than Brian Pillman was.
He had some good stuff.
Did Brian Pillman ever main event at WrestleMania?
No, because
okay,
it was
there
early
you go.
90s.
Point made. I'm better.
You got to go back. We're going to get into this later on, but this was to
what is one
Benoit match
that you want to highlight today?
Ooh. And it's got he had a best of 7 series with Booker T.
Yeah.
For the United States Championship. Yeah. Those 7 matches, because it went all 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He lost the first 3, and he had to go and win the last.
He had to go.
3.
Yeah, he had to go the distance.
Yeah.
But I was watching something earlier where he beat Orlando Jordan, which was JBL's chief of staff.
Oh yeah.
And the cabinet, and he beat him in 25.5 seconds, and he was trying to beat it every week.
That record.
That's the Benoit that I remember, and I hate Chris Benoit, the person, because you almost killed your sport.
And I think you would first hate him for the fact that he did.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Benoit was so much into pro wrestling, like if he missed a spot, he was doing 1,000 squats. Mm-hmm. If he messed something up in a match, he was doing.
He was a perfectionist.
Doing burpees or something like that to punish himself. If he were to see what he almost did to his first love, wrestling, he would hate himself, and he should.
I think, yeah. Look, I'm never gonna feel pity for him.
No, ever.
So I'm having trouble empathizing with any of what you're saying. I get the essence of what you're saying,
but what I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying what he did is not wrong. I'm saying
yeah, and I get that.
I hated him after the fact of finding out what almost happened with, like, I hated him for what he did, and then I hated him for what he almost did to wrestling.
He doubled down on
yeah,
on
exactly.
Yeah.
So, Paul Heyman.
What about him?
Did a lot of work with Benoit and ECW. And he was kind of going back and forth between WCW and ECW at the time. Mm-hmm. And someone was like, they were talking about Chris Benoit, and someone in the crowd said, "My boy," and he said, Like he went off on the.
This was
fan. I
like
want
a
to say
podcast
yeah,
kind of
something like that.
performance. I know what you're talking about.
And he was like, "Fuck them." Like there were 3 people died that night. 2 other people died that night. And he said that same thing I said about CTE. Like you believe that in CTE, but that's not an excuse.
It's not
for murder. Nothing. Like if
nothing is an excuse. Nothing is an excuse for the things he did, or things to use that as an excuse are.
And that's the thing. Like people will find anything to use an excuse. Will he ever be recognized? No. And I don't believe he should.
And that's where I was going with that. I think this is the price that inevitably he has to pay, but he doesn't pay it because he's dead. But being deleted from the history books is what should happen to him because of the things he did. What sucks is that he was such a good wrestler, he deletes everybody else's accolades on there.
Yep. And we're watching one of them right now. It's the greatest rematch of all time.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this on the WWE Network?
Peacock.
Which is WWE Network.
It's pretty much WWE Network, yeah.
So they have it on here because it's Triple H and Shawn Michaels more than
they can't erase matches from their pay-per-views. Kind of like how they continued we'll get into that too. There's a pay-per-view, fully loaded, 1999 or 98.
Is that
it was
Owen Hart?
The day that Owen Hart fell from the rafters, they still continued the pay-per-view. And we'll get into that.
Maybe we'll talk about that next time.
Further down the road.
Okay.
I need you to think about what you have went on with that pay-per-view. Don't answer now. But that's really all I wanted to get to with Chris Benoit.
Okay.
Because there's not really much I can say else about him. Like I said, he erased a lot of good matches that you can't really... A lot of people don't know because...
I didn't know... Actually, I didn't know any of the matches that you sent me today. I didn't know he had any matches with CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Triple H, HBK.
His last match was supposed to be against CM Punk, and then he didn't show in Houston.
Oh, yeah.
It was supposed to be
for the title. And it would have been in Houston, too.
Yeah. So he killed his wife, his kid, and, I mean, it sucks for his sister, or Nancy's sister, and David, because, I mean, she got out of an abusive relationship, marriage, and then she came into one, and then she got killed.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks. And I can't even, I've seen death, firsthand, but, nobody really thinks of the outcome.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a little bit of a somber episode. Anything you wanted them to comment down below?
No, I don't really. Yeah, I didn't really want to do this, but I really felt we should get it out the way.
Yeah, controversial topics here on Suplex Society.
Exactly.
Don't forget to comment down whatever you want to comment down. I'll leave it up to you guys. Let's
comment, make this subscribe. A memorial for Nancy and his other son.
Okay. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share this with everybody who is an avid wrestling fan or just a... What did you call me earlier?
Casual wrestling fan.
Casual wrestling fan.
Peace.
Time to nerve. Peace.